You are listening to the 90 Days Later podcast with Anna Charles, episode 159. Welcome to the 90 Days Later podcast, where I show you how life with less alcohol is more fun than you think. I work with high achievers who struggle to drink a glass of wine without it turning into 2 bottles. I'm the one they call when they want to take it or leave it. So if you want to change your relationship with alcohol that doesn't involve counting days sober, you're in the right place. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. I have a great topic for you today. We're going to continue with the ways that we handle cravings. But first, I just want to reflect for a second or two. I feel like I am on fire these days. This work is changing people's lives, literally. The results my clients are getting is staggering. We're seeing the amount of shame reduced. We're seeing a reduction in anxiety. We're seeing us seeing clients rewrite the stories of their relationship with alcohol, why they're drinking, right? And calling themselves out, seeing them speak and visibly change in front of my eyes as we have these conversations. It is so good. People, you're not coaching, you need to get coached. Anyway, so that was the first thing I wanted to reflect on. And secondly, I've got a couple of special offers going on right now with the holiday season coming up. I know it can be, one of so much extra effort and stress and so on. And we've got all the family round and that whole thing. So I have the holiday season survival guide that is on sale, and I'll drop the links to this in the show notes. And what do you get in that package? It is just £98, and for that you get a recording of a masterclass I did, and it just doesn't talk about drinking. It talks about how to eat in a very moderate way as well over the holidays, if that's something you're looking for. There's a habit tracker in there. I include some mocktail recipes, some of my favorite mocktail recipes I've put together for you. There's a document that lists 30 hacks, right? That will help you get through the holidays. And there's also a section on audios. I recorded 5 calming audios that you can just play, right, whenever it gets too much. And there's other stuff in there too. So you're going to want the holiday season survival guide. But that is not all. I am also looking ahead already. Yes, have my eyes on the future here to Dry January. And I don't just want to do Dry January like everybody else does it, right? Where it's this 31 days of penance and boring and you just got to get through. I am going to be running an event called Coach in Your Pocket. You will see more of those in the future. Dry January edition. Right. And what we're going to be doing there is I'm going to be launching each week. There's going to be a video, and the topics we're going to be in week 1. It's going to be managing cravings when the glass of wine has got your name on it. Week 2, going to talk about the topic of remind me why I thought Dry January was a good idea. In week 3, I'm going to cover oops, I did it again. How to get back on track when you want to throw in the towel. And then in week 4, we're going to be talking about digging deep when you are ready to give up. In addition to these videos there are going to be 2 live group coaching calls where I'm going to answer all your questions. You can come on and ask me what's going on in your mind. There is going to be a workbook with 31 days of reflection exercises, so you can sort of track your progress as you go through, and you get lifetime access to all of this. The most important thing with this is this is about how to do dry January in a way that will not feel like I've got to do this for my health. I really don't want to do it, but we're going to be learning about yourself. It will be so good. It's going to be fun. Yes, fun. And until the 31st of December at midnight GMT, it is half price. Just £49. The price automatically doubles on the 1st of January. So if you want to go through the holiday season, knowing you've got yourself covered in January, that you are going to start 2025 with a new mindset, a new approach, then give yourself this gift now and save money in the process. Remember, the price will double automatically on the 1st of January. If this is what you want, if you want this, I'm going to link in the show notes. You'll be able to find it on my website. And you can also go to anna@90dayslater.co. Just email me and I will get you the information. All right. I think those are my advertisements finished, but like you say, you can probably hear my voice. I am fired up, people. This is a great time of year to be coaching on alcohol. It's such fun. All right. So today, like I say, we're going to be covering the third reaction, the way we handle cravings. I'm going to be talking about the narrator mindset. And you might have seen this. Have you ever been in a situation, right, where you can see the cravings coming and you're watching it unfold, but you kind of feel powerless, right? You're like, oh, I'm just being sort of dragged along for the ride here. You feel very, very passive. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So the narrator mindset is, again, when you're aware what's going on. Now, there's a good thing there, right? I talk a lot about awareness. We want to be aware, but you can see what's happening, but you just feel utterly powerless. It's kind of like one of those dreams, dreams where something's happening, or you're trying to reach, or you're kind of trying to talk to somebody and they can't hear you, or you can't speak, right? You know what you want to do, you're just not doing it. How does this show up? Well, maybe you're sitting at a bar with friends and you can see yourself reaching for a drink, even though you can see yourself that you don't really want it. Or maybe you're at home and you see yourself pouring yourself a glass, and as you're doing it, like, I don't really want to do this. Is this what I should be doing? I promised myself I wasn't going to do this. I promised I'd take a break. And you kind of feel like you're acting on autopilot, right? So we've got the awareness piece, which is good, but then it kind of all breaks down and you really feel like you're just along for the ride. You feel stuck and unable to stop it. So first, let's look at the pros and cons of this. Now, the pros, like I say, the biggest benefit is really that you have some awareness. And I really want you to celebrate that. This is huge, right? Because for so many of us, I remember this back in the day, I'd be on autopilot. I wouldn't even realize I was pouring the drink until I was drinking it. It's like, how did this get into my hand? I often talk about the story, actually, the day that I said, come on, Anna, we're going to do something about this. Was when I was preparing dinner, and what I like to do is I get all the ingredients out and put them on the counter. And there, next to the onions, was a full glass of white wine, right? A full glass of white wine. I had no recollection of having poured it. I wasn't drunk at the time because this was obviously the first glass. And I actually remember I went around the house to see if my husband had poured it. He wasn't even home. I had such a habit of drinking while cooking that while I got all the ingredients out of the fridge, I also got the wine out, right? So I didn't have the awareness then, right? So if you have some awareness, that's a good thing, right? In this, you can maybe also, the other way of the awareness is showing up in the narrator mindset, is you can see the cravings coming. And as I say, in many ways, this is a step up. This is a big step up from the baffled, right, where you just don't know what's going on, or the fighter, where you're kind of needing, you're kind of in constant fight mode. So if you recognize your craving is coming, that's great. At least you're conscious of that fact. But here is the downside. Awareness without control, awareness without taking action on it can feel incredibly frustrating. Right? This is where we get into that I should be doing this. I should be making a different choice. But we feel like we're being carried along by our impulses, as though we don't have any power to change direction. And this often leads to huge feelings of guilt or helplessness or even shame, because you can see it. You're not acting in a way that is sort of lines up with your goals, or even as you see yourself as a person in any other area of your life. Right? Maybe you sort of wouldn't accept this kind of behavior from yourself in anything else, and yet you do with drinking, and you just can't seem to stop it. So why does this happen? Why do we get into this kind of powerless narrator mindset happen? Well, it's when we act on our cravings without consciously choosing it. It's normally because, again, we are relying on habits or automatic responses. This is another version of the conditioned response we're doing it. So let's break it down. If you've been drinking regularly to unwind after work, your body and mind are going to be conditioned to automatically reach for the drink when that clock strikes at 6. You can be going along perfectly fine, then boom, right? It feels like there's just what's happening, an out-of-body experience here. I'm wanting the wine. And if you've been used to that, you might just be going through the motions, right? Literally going through the motions of pouring that glass, even when you've decided that you're not going to. So that's what we see happening. Now, the narrator mindset, I find, can act as a kind of form of emotional or mental disconnection, right? We know the craving is there because you're aware that you can see what's happening, but you might disconnect from the experience, or maybe you're numbing out from that because it feels easier to just go along with it than kind of to take any kind of different action, right? It's almost like you're turning off your own internal control panel and letting the cravings take over. And again, why this can feel so bad is that we can almost see ourselves doing it. As I talk so much about when we have the awareness, we can interrupt the habit. But here you've got the awareness and you're thinking, well, I'm not interrupting the habit, right? Why? So how do you break free from this, right? This is where we get into the practical. This is your homework for the week if you recognize this. So the first thing is really, I want you to recognize that you have power in that present moment. Even if you feel like you are watching yourself go through the motions and you can't stop it, you can. I want you to start practicing a sense of mindfulness. We're going to be reconnecting with our choices. I want you to see all of this as choice. Every action you take is a choice. And here are some tips of doing that. Firstly, insert a pause. I have spoken about this many times before on the podcast. Pausing, maybe counting to 5, counting to 10, is underrated often when it comes to changing these automatic habits. So the key, and I really believe the key to breaking the automatic cycle is to pause before you act. Now, as you do this, you might find yourself pausing after you've poured the drink, and as you do it more and more in practice, you might find yourself pausing midway through the drink, right? It's just you're getting earlier and earlier, and then you get to the point where you can pause before you pour the drink. And when you notice the craving, I want you to not just go along with it, but just take that moment to breathe. Breathe. Pause and reconnect then. Use that moment to reconnect with your intention. Ask yourself, how do I want to feel? What kind of person do I want to be? What is this drink going to do for me? Right? Just get curious. I want you to accept what's happening. Maybe you get the pause and you're still following through. Well, we want to come to some level of acceptance. Understand why we're doing this. Understand that we're following through on this because this is a habit. This is just a routine response. We want to drop the shame. We want to drop the guilt. This will help you make the change. And then I want you to start questioning your automatic habits. Right? If you're used to drinking with wine at dinner, then I want you to pause and ask, why am I doing this? Right? Really, just why am I doing this? I can see myself doing it. Why is it? Is it out of habit? Is there something else I need right now? And if so, what is that thing I need right now? Again, none of this is about beating ourselves up. This is just asking ourselves questions. Our brains love to answer questions. Ask them questions that will guide you in the direction you want to go. Now, if you find that you actually, through asking these questions, you feel that you really are feeling quite disconnected from the moment, right? Because this is when we can see ourselves going through the motions. I want you to try some grounding techniques to bring your focus back to the present. You could focus on your breath. You could feel your feet on the ground. That is a huge one for me, actually still to this day. If ever I'm feeling a bit all topsy-turvy, I will sit and I will actually plant my feet flat on the ground. I will feel the ground under my feet and focus on that. Another thing I do is you can just count to 10 slowly. These small moments of mindfulness will help us to just reconnect, and not just reconnect with what's going on, but I want you to reconnect with the fact that you are the one in control. If you find yourself passively watching what's going on, kind of like you're a narrator, you're narrating what's going on. So remember that there's some awareness there, that's positive, and then you can interrupt having the movie just run. It's like we're going to cut the movie, we're going to take some deep breaths. We're going to get some mindfulness in there. And then we're going to remember we have the control, we have the choice, and then go ahead. Now, even if in that moment you decide, no, you know what, I'm just going to still have the drink. Okay, but I want you to think you have interrupted the habit. Just that teeny tiny thing. Even if all you did was you counted to 2 and you focused on your feet on the ground. That's a change. You've taken the habit out of automatic mode. So that's what I want you to do. If you find you are somebody who's kind of like watching yourself drink as like the narrator, you can see what's going on. You could describe it to someone, and yet you knew that the end of the story never changes, always ends up with you drinking. Do those 4 things. I want you to pause and reflect. Take a moment. And then that interrupt the automatic cycle. Just focusing on something like your feet or just taking a breath. Right? Remember that you have the control. Even if it might not seem like it, just tell yourself, I do have the control. And then we're just going to introduce this and do this more and more. And the more you do this, right, this is how you introduce new habits. You might still be doing the drinking, but actually you'll be pausing and asking yourself, do I want this? Right? And then soon you'll then start to answer those questions and the answer changes. All right, so that's it for today. That's it if you are the narrator. This is for you. I want you to go ahead and practice that. And again, I want you to remember, if you want help over the holidays, I have that package, the Holiday Season Survival Guide. And if you're looking ahead to Dry January, I have the Dry January Coach in Your Pocket. Oh, and I should have mentioned actually that, and I might go back and re-edit the beginning, that the Coach in the Pocket is half price until midnight on the 31st of December. So it's only £49 to get involved with all of that. And the price doubles on the 1st of January. So get in there, get in and sign up for that so that you can go through the holidays, not worried, because on 1st of January, you're going to do Dry January with a difference. Okay, people, that's it for this week. I will see you next time. If you like what you're learning in the podcast and you want to take the work further and achieve total freedom around alcohol, let's talk. I help my clients stop reaching for that first glass of wine the moment 6 p.m. rolls around and they don't miss out on life. Email me for more information on anna@90dayslater.co. And if you did enjoy the show, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a rating and review to help others find the 90 Days Later podcast.